Welcome to the next installment of the Dismount podcast, and today we are discussing episode 50, awareness. How do I become? How do I notice? How do I become? How do I realize? But no, more importantly, it's how do I notice the little things? Awareness is such a funny and catchy buzzword because, how do you actually take the time to live in the moment, but also realize what you're doing? Trying to absolutely sit there and be in the moment, but also have the awareness of what's going on in the moment. How do you actually consider yourself fully living in the moment then? All right, so this podcast is going to be a ripper of awareness and what it's been for us, what we got coming forth in our life. This podcast is not a do as we say. The squad always says, don't trust us, trust yourself, because you have all the answers. We're just here to be vulnerable and allow you to feel the ability to be vulnerable yourself and release all that authenticity. The group always sits down with 6 questions that we've put together, and we do a little bit of journaling, we do a little bit of reflection, and ultimately it's a mind dump, it's a thought dump, it's a vulnerability dump into our group notion. And so that outline today is going to look like these 6 questions. Number 1, can you think of a time in your life when you were going through something on repeat, a loop, and didn't realize it for years to come? What happened that helped you finally wake up to it? Number 2, how do you personally define awareness? Is it observation, presence, clarity, consciousness, or something else entirely? Number 3, do you think it's possible to live fully without being aware of it in the moment? Or does awareness have to be a part of the experience to make it real? Number 4, what subtle signs, physical, emotional, relational, do you now realize when you are in the moment that ultimately show, are you out of alignment with awareness or in alignment with awareness? Number 5, have you ever believed you were self-aware only to look back and realize you were blind to something very important? How do you keep yourself honest about that nowadays? Number 6, if awareness is a practice, not a destination, what's one small way you're choosing to notice it in your life today? So let's rip right into number 1. Can you think of a time in your life when you were going through something on repeat, a loop, and didn't realize it for years? I'm going to take this one to start us out, but I'm not going to give all of my things. Right now, for me, in being just absolutely super vulnerable and authentic, I've absolutely went through a loop with depression, Mary Jane, and not feeling like I was adequate enough for the dreams that I had inside of my head. So I'm going to just start with number 1 off that list and not talk about all 3 of them just yet, but depression. Depression came from me at a young age. Not so much as like it would hinder me from being able to continue going after my dreams, but I definitely had a lot of like mental battles that I was constantly fighting throughout my teenage years of just, which, let's be real, how many of us were constantly dealing with these battles that are we really classifying them as depression, or were they just coming of age types of things that were lessons and challenges that if you got through them and past them, you succeeded, or if you allowed them to take you down what would be a dark path in your eyes, whether that's drugs, alcohol, not allowing yourself to go after your dreams, not allowing yourself to fulfill what you're going after, that could potentially be what ultimately was the demise. But depression for me came from constantly feeling like I was not adequate enough for the people around me. I was always someone who was trying to just strive to be the best version of myself, and I I've spoke about this before multiple times here on the podcast, but when you're going after things, I thought that everybody around me was also going after being the best version of themselves without ever taking any time to realize that it's a lot easier to shit on somebody than to go after your own personal dreams. It's a lot easier to try to pull someone back down off the ladder that they're climbing rather than prop up your own ladder and try to catch them up the mountain. Or rock climbing. It's a lot easier for you to try to slice someone's rope rather than make your own line up the scale that we're trying to go
These
after.
examples are getting ever more violent as we go along.
Yes. But I will say, like, minus the whole concept of like the teenage years and all that coming of age type of stuff, and who does it turn you into in your 20s, which would really be like some real character building years, in my opinion. I will say, and I don't know if you guys are vibing with me on this, the work loop is the depression that has absolutely crushed me the hardest. Going to a job that you just, and I don't want to talk shit on any of the places that I work. That's not what I'm here to do. That's not the person I ever want to be. But I will say that I don't know if I really, really enjoyed any of my jobs that I can look back and say, like, that was the shit. And that's just for me.
Yeah.
And waking up, the Sunday scaries hit. You go to wake up for Monday, and you're like, you wake up Monday, and you're not trying to be Mr. Positivity. Oh, yes, I'm Mickey Mouse. Everything's great. Whoa!
That's pretty good.
But more so trying to be someone who's there's a lot of people out there that talk about the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind, and that these two, they do not work the same way. And what you end up telling yourself can really affect the whole rest of your day. So what chips are you stacking? Are you stacking the chips that are ultimately turning you into the person who you want to be? Or are you stacking the chips that are keeping you stuck at the level that you're at currently?
Yeah.
And so Monday comes around and you're like, fuck. This fucking shit again. And
Isn't it great when you wake up and the first word out of your mouth is fuck? Some reason it never happens on Saturday and Sunday.
No, it doesn't. It does not. Unless you have to work on Saturday or Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I mean.
yeah, okay, fair.
But I don't know about you guys. What has been a loop that you guys have tackled? One of them. I got other ones to share, but
I would say mine is also like work. It's, continuing to show up for me. Same as you in the sense of, like, I'm not going to try to agree on purpose, but on accident. For work, I can't say there's only one job where I was like, yo, I live for this shit. Like, and that was the one that I got let go from. Not my fault. It was miscommunication, all that stuff. But like outside of that, like, it's not like a lot of the jobs that you work, you just get excited and, it's no knock on that. And it doesn't even have to necessarily be like, I've also experienced depression too. And it's not in that sense. It's just, you go to make someone else's dreams come true. We've talked about that on our episodes. And, you feel like you're one of the minions. You're just running around. No matter, in my position, I have some authority, but I still feel like I'm just, pushing numbers and pushing things for other people. I have cool parts of my job too, but like when I was machining and when I was doing recruiting, like those, I know Tick can relate to this for at least like anyone who's worked a sales job. You look ahead, you start your day and you're like, fuck, I got to make 80 calls. And you're like, this is going to suck. And you have to somehow take yourself out of that. But like, it doesn't change the fact that as soon as you get those 80 calls done, you're going to come back like 18 hours later and do the exact same thing. And you're like, fuck. So then you come back and then you return to the same thing. And you're like, I swear I just blinked and I was just here yesterday leaving and now I'm coming back. So for me, it's the loop of returning to your job and resetting. And we'll probably talk more on this later, but you got to have something different, some kind of change, some kind of growth, something happening. And for me, when I was machining, one of the ways I coped with it was, all right, I have a library and a set list of things I want to learn while I'm doing this. So like for me, for anybody out there who can't afford to put one ear like AirPod in or something, anybody who can afford to do that, I recommend doing it because you got to stack up, like you said, those coins to lead to the better you. And I feel like jobs, they really don't have an avenue to support that unless you're in like mental health, which, you know, just as a public service announcement, it's not getting better for the practitioners. Like the environment we're in, it's not getting any better. There's just more needs and less resources. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's super beneficial if you can throw that, the headphones on. If your job allows you the ability to be able to be learning while you're doing something that might be mundane, you want to think that you're going to a job and you're going to keep learning things and you're going to keep growing, but that's not always the case. And you also have to, like, I know for myself, like, I've had to sit there and go, okay, well, today's not a day where I'm going to learn anything. Today's a day where this is a maintenance day. And that's completely understood. Like, I have to continue with anything in your life. You're going to have to take time to do maintenance on your car, maintenance on your house, cleaning, maintenance on yourself, working out. That has to happen too. So there's going to be those days where the mundane is needed. But when I'm coming back to the mundane every day and we haven't gone past the maintenance factor, well, now I'm starting to lose myself. And now I'm starting to go, well, what really can I do? Because if this is it, shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought about it, unfortunately, on my side, not maybe unfortunately, but I'd say just the acknowledgement of loops being a natural part of life, like life being a circle. And there's something natural to that for sure, but it could also be the bane of your existence if you let it control you. It's something you become like ashamed of if you don't go out and try to conquer whatever lesson you're trying to learn or whatever. I thought about like listening to like Creed on repeat. like you're kind of doing it ironically, but deep down unironically, you're actually enjoying it the whole fucking time. You're singing the song. You're like, oh no, dude, this sucks. I hate this for sure. Totally don't like this. This is hold me now. And then like there's something about it that like you're ashamed of deep down inside when you're allowing these loops that are negative. I guess loops can be positive too, depending on how you look at it. But I definitely feel the sense. I'm sure a lot of people do about the work related loops of just you feel like you never leave. Even when you leave, it's like, what did I even do last night? And that's tough because that is an area where you probably do need to look at finding other pockets to reward yourself outside of that workplace. Like if it's just a job that pays your bills, then what are you doing outside of work to further yourself if that's the case? If you can find fulfillment at your job, that's amazing. It's probably rare for people. Hopefully you're at a job that aligns with you and where you want to go. But as far as like other life loops go, like I think it just all comes down to discipline, and that's a word we've used a million times. But the first thing I thought of was grocery shopping. Like today is Sunday. If I don't grocery shop, well, I have enough groceries today, but in a normal week, typically if I don't grocery shop on Sunday and I cook something for lunch on Monday, well, now I'm buying lunch on Monday. And then I get home and I still haven't grocery shopped, and now it's Monday and I have to work on the podcast, and I come out here and then I leave here at 9 o'clock and I haven't eaten dinner, and I go, okay, well, now I'm going to get dinner. And then I get home and then I wake up and it's, oh shit, I still haven't made food. Today guys was leftovers and meal prep. Now it's Tuesday and I'm going to eat out lunch again. And now Tuesday night comes and okay, I finally grocery shopped, but now I'm too tired to cook, and now it's Wednesday and now it's like, all right, I finally cooked something, and then leftovers are in the trash by Saturday, and I DoorDash something or whatever. It all comes down to like breaking that loop. I'm aware of it. And that's another thing we'll get into is being aware of the loops and then doing absolutely nothing about it, like living in your own hell. That is a really tough lick to really acknowledge, because you can be as aware as you want of the situation you're in, but if you do nothing about it, it'd be better off to be ignorant to where you are. And I think the loops happen for, unfortunately, you can't strong arm the universe. Like if you'd like to sit there and say, oh, I can just keep doing this, nothing bad's gonna happen. Eventually, you're not tougher than the universe. You're not stronger. Like it's going to impose your will or its will on you. And that becomes tough to acknowledge because for me, a lot of these loops that I've acknowledged in the past, they broke very violently. You know, it takes like it's not me trying to set an alarm at 7 a.m. to go for a run before work and then just hitting the alarm. Like I'm never going to really I just won't react to that. You know, like okay, cool, snooze, done. You know, roll back over, going to sleep for another hour. But what did work when I was 13 was my dad flickering on the lights and screaming like Marine Corps hymns up the stairs, like the most violent way to wake someone up. Like, okay, all right, I get it. Okay, I'm getting up. So, like, cycling that back into like loop conversation, sometimes, unfortunately, it takes for us to get violently woken up. And that's where I've seen the difference of, I was just talking about like whether it's relationships or jobs with my girlfriend too, of like, in the past, there were times where I knew I was doing something that didn't align with me. And it took the most outlandish bullshit to happen for me to go, all right, man, maybe you're not doing what you should be doing. Like, I'm taking a ride out to go do something that I'm like, like down in my gut. Am I sure about this? Is this something that like actually makes sense for me? And then the car like stalls out, battery dies, and you're like, what the fuck, dude? Like this car, next day car is fine. You're like, I apparently wasn't supposed to go there, So it is tough, and I think the discipline has something to do with it. And not so much like you have to be on top of everything at all times, but just being aware of like your intentions in a situation, or I think the awareness is also like a gut instinct too. It's not so much like logical. It's it's the same thing as being aware of like crossing the street. You know instinctually like I have to check for cars. And you also know like maybe that person isn't good for me. I might allow them the space to fuck my life up some more, but deep down inside you start to realize, hey, this is probably not serving me the way it should.
Yeah. How do you find that time to actually, once you're going through all these loops and they just have more of the control,
yeah,
where do you find the time to sit down and actually take stock of, oh, well, I don't know. We've talked about it before, building a Venn diagram of like the positives and the pros and cons, and like where do the pros and cons overlap into the, well, this is what I'm really experiencing.
Yeah.
Because it's not all going to be positive. It's not all going to be negative. But at the same token, like I know for myself, I was someone like growing up that I could never control my mind. And it was just always racing like no other. And to the point where I would stay up so many nights and I did not get good sleep as a younger kid because my mind would just be racing so much. And I'd be laying there just with my eyes closed, trying to go to sleep and trying to count sheep, trying to count cars, like trying to like all these different things to put myself to sleep. And I never really was good at it until I spent multiple nights and then it would just be crash because that next day came around and I was one of those kids that if I kept staying up too late or not getting good sleep, my immune system would just kick me in the ass like 4 days later. And I'd either get sick or I'd be down for the count and not feeling myself, not feeling strong, always feeling like sniffling, all that bullshit. Now, I don't know if I could have done anything different as a kid or been able to break those loops. But I will say that in college, when I went off to UPJ, I ended up finding Mary Jane. And Mary Jane for me was this magical thing that, and this is a disclaimer, that I want to say that marijuana or Mary Jane can be fantastic for you if used in the correct way. I'll be the one to also say mushrooms could be a fantastic thing for you in the right setting. I'm not a connoisseur of those, but I do know a lot of positive things from a lot of positive people that I've met. Now, when it came down to Mary Jane for me, it honestly, with my brain that was just, and I think I've said it before on here, like an LA highway that just has 10 lanes of traffic this way and 10 lanes of traffic this way, and everything's moving like the speed of light in every single car. We're not talking traffic jam. We're talking light speed. Every car zipping past you, and it's idea, thought. Something I could build, something I could do, something I could do. Just flying all over the place like some dude cracked out. And I will say that Mary Jane gave me these ability to just go horse and blinders, flow state on things. And that was awesome until it became something later in my mid-20s that was more of an escape from all the stuff that I was dealing with rather than an enhancer to my life.
Yeah.
And I will say that I had to tackle that battle. My aunt at one point in time, I had talked to her about it just because of what my cousin was going through. And she's like, oh, so you self-medicated yourself. And I was like, I never really thought about it that way, but I will say that the sleep that I got was absolutely fantastic, even though it's not great for your sleep. I was able to finally get long nights of sleep and different things like that. Now I'm trying to do that all without it. And it's a challenge, but I'm breaking through. I also am someone who honestly really truly believes that life is 90% mental and 10% physical. I know this is on some Little Giants, like, on some Little Giants bullshit, but I really do believe that life is 90% mental and 10% physical. And so getting that place of just constantly strengthening that muscle that is the mind is where I'm at. And I will say that I want to disclaim that I think that it can be great, but it also can be extremely detrimental if you're using it to escape your reality, where that's what it became for me. I could sit here and I smoke a bowl and I'd play video games and I'd be absolutely ridiculously good at Call of Duty because instead of thinking about 5,000 things, I was only focused on the game that I was playing and able to do it very well. But I also think that I was like a literal like Snoop Dogg Wiz Khalifa son of a bitch, where I was smoking past the point of anybody who I was friends with or anybody who I knew or really anybody who I met who like that was their entire persona, because it was not my entire persona, but people who I met at music festivals and stuff that like this was their life. This is kind of what they built. They went after jobs to get into that industry. I was the guy who was like 10 bowls deeper than these guys and like multiple joints past these guys. Oh, hold up. We're out here biking in Chicago. You took 200 milligram edibles and like you've been ripping every bowl with us. Who the hell are you? Like, and that's where it was like my tolerance for all these different things was through the roof. Alcohol was another one. The fact that like, we used to crush a bottle of tequila and then go down and like, there's only been one time when I got too messed up and was stuck up on the roof and you guys had to pull me back in through the window. But like,
that was like search and rescue shit.
That was some pretty crazy
you
shit.
might as well have been on Mount Everest.
Yeah, it was insane. Because that was it was dangerous to get up on that roof to begin with.
Yeah.
Now you got a 220-pound man that you're trying to push through a window coming down a 50-degree slope in the pitch black.
Yep, that window is not big enough.
And
either.
that window was not big enough.
Nope, you had to really work yourself through that.
So I've always had this high tolerance for all these different things. So that was a loop that like I got to a place where it was more about escaping reality rather than using it to enhance the ability to just laser focus in. But this is where my point ends up coming around to. I didn't know about things like breath work and meditation and setting intentions. Like I didn't have these things that were getting pushed towards me. I didn't have all these I didn't have people in my life who were sharing all these different books with me that I now like dive into and whatnot at that point in time. I had a bunch of friends who were trying to go after girls. I had parents who were just trying to make it in life. These were all awesome things that built me into the person that I'm in. But at 18 years old, I did not have someone that was saying like, you ever heard of Dr. Sebi? You ever heard of Robert Greene? You ever heard
Yeah.
of any of these like
Sad guru.
Yeah, you ever heard of the Dalai Lama? No, I did not know any of this stuff. I didn't know what any other religions were out there and different things like that. So I utilized the tools that were given to me. I went through the loops, and if you can come out of those loops, that where I think this is my statement to our second question of this part of what helped you finally wake up to it. And for me, it's honesty.
Yeah.
Being completely honest with myself and being able to look in the mirror and be able to say, like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Hold up. And it takes the discipline. I think it 100% takes that. But for me, it was honesty is what broke the code, broke the loop. And being able to look in the mirror and tell yourself, like, I think that shame is not a bad thing, but I think that shame is the driver that ultimately takes you to that next level of like, I don't really like who I am.
Yeah. Shame's the byproduct of allowing actions that don't align with yourself to take over your life. Like you're doing this, whatever, and that's what I wrote about like loops too, would be that they're pretty similar to the way you were describing addictions too. It was like, I might not love what I'm doing. I might hate it. I might think it's the worst part about me. I'm still going to do it. You know, oh, it doesn't make me a bad person. It might even not even align with who I am at all. I might have a list of things in my moral compass over here, and I'm still doing this thing over here, and it still just eats you away. And that's what's tough, is that being honest with yourself. Because if you were, for me, so much easier to give other people advice. It's so hard to give yourself that same tough talk that you could give to a sibling or a friend or a family member or whoever it might be. But to actually remove your ego from the situation, which can be very tough, allows you that space to go like, okay, dude, like if this were someone else and you were looking at like what they were doing, you'd be like, yo, you need to figure some different things out. But to tell yourself that, not so easy.
No, because like you said, it's so much easier to tell somebody else that. But looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself that, you're like, crickets.
Yeah, because people think shame is something that, you know, oh, we should avoid shaming people or whatever. And yeah, you probably shouldn't be out there shaming other individuals. But I think self-shame, like, I don't know, man. Like, I do think it could be healthy in the sense of trying to at least align yourself with whatever you're striving towards.
I 100% vibe with that, dude. Because I think that it is ultimately what gets you over that next hump. The little engine that could, the little train trying to get over the hill, you know? Like, I just think that it's the finishing touch.
Yeah, it's hard to balance shame in a healthy manner without having that negative self-talk like we've talked about, because that's another thing I'll talk about later. But that's really tough. Like, know that you're destined for more, but not, shaming, yes, but not thinking you're a lesser person for struggling. And
I vibe with what you're saying of not allowing it to pull you down to something else. Because you're beating yourself up rather than building yourself up.
Yeah, you can feel bad about not getting to the place you want to go as fast as you'd like to go, and that's okay. But to think that you're never destined for that or you're not good enough, that's where I think it comes into a worser point.
Yeah, and that was my last thing of not feeling adequate enough for the life that I ultimately dreamed of at one point in time. Being an entrepreneur, being someone who, I remember working at all these different places and thinking, man, some of these people are amazing. They do not get respected here. Holy shit. And then I remember thinking, some of these people don't deserve shit. Like, they are manipulating the hell out of this system here and utilizing it to their benefit. And it was like the end of a circular loop for me of realizing, oh my gosh, these were the people that shit on other people when we were younger. These were the people that instead of wanting to strive for their own stuff, felt it was easier to just try to pull somebody else's, I think of taking off the movie Up with just the balloons, and someone's like got a little dart gun and they're just shooting your balloons down. Like, I'm gonna take this person out. So much easier to grab my little dart gun and go two, 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 rather than try to build your own situation like that.
Yeah.
I think what you guys were describing, a good highlight for anyone listening is when you're not experiencing living consistent with your values and you're behaving in a way that isn't consistent, like you were saying, then you're experiencing cognitive dissonance. And then to sum up what we're saying on there is you really could use shame as a tool. But after you're done with that, you need self-love to come in so that you don't get to the point of shitting on yourself.
Yeah.
Because once you've got to that point, then you're just going to perpetuate that loop. And you're just going to go back to it and back to it and back to it. And you're just going to keep going on until you don't like yourself enough to... My brain, my imagination went to a dark place, but I was like, okay, I'm going to avoid that. You basically get to a point where you're just sick of it and you say, that's enough. I need to hit the reset button and I need to come back. And the way that I come back is for me, I don't have it with me, but I have my mission and I have my vision. I have it written down. I have it in my house and I need to come back to that every once in a while. And for anyone listening, it basically is something along the lines of, I'm here to help improve myself, help grow myself, help others grow, and most importantly, help willing others grow. And that's it. That's all I'm here on this earth for. I'm just here to help myself grow, help others, and die.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I love it because that's nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's where I took my thoughts of, that whole point of it was nature constantly is working to grow, evolve, and be able to continue that species forever and ever and ever. So what else are we doing here other than trying to grow ourselves, expand ourselves, and then share that with others for them to be able to continue to grow our species?
Yeah, and then when you work against the laws of the universe, you get smacked upside your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you start to mess with free will.
Right. Well, if everything was meant to grow on this planet and you're trying as hard as you can not to grow, you're probably going to get a reality check.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where the awareness of, you watch some of these people who have all the money or, it's a constant theme of someone's getting close to their deathbed and now they're trying to become like the most charitable person ever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that awareness of looking back and you go, man, was I manipulating people's free will to be able to get to me to this level that now I'm trying to clean up my karma? I don't know. That's a whole different story for a different day.
Yeah.
But I do like the way that we talked about karma last time, which was pretty interesting. And we're definitely going to have an episode on karma sometime in the near future. But let's move on to number 2. How do you personally define awareness? Is it observation, presence, clarity, consciousness, or something else completely? And for me, I thought that awareness is conscious reflection and observation of how in line you are with your truest self. And that's kind of was like the bold spectrum way of looking at it for me, of just how in tune am I with who I'm trying to become, but also how in tune am I with the person that I am right now? Because, okay, I want to get to this next level, but I already built out this level right now, and I have all these great qualities in myself. Maybe not. And that kind of leads to the statement that I've made before, which is an extremely bold statement of there is no right and wrong. And I'm going to die on that hill one day of there is no right and wrong. It's just your perception of it. And I used a crazy concept to reiterate this one of killing somebody and shooting somebody to death. There's a difference. I don't know if this is a little bit too far of a stretch of a conversation to have inside of a conversation of awareness, but the person who walks into an open theater or walks into an innocent crowd and starts to open fire, and then they've now taken out people, one would probably lean more to that's the wrong decision. But is it also the wrong decision for the person who takes out that person? Oh, shit. Now we've just delved down a whole rabbit hole of what's actually right and wrong. You know, in your head, you might think that killing somebody else based on your religion or your own morals or your own ethics is wrong. But is killing somebody who's killing other people? Oh shit. Now this is a stoic situation here of what's actually wrong and what's actually right.
My buddy, we had the conversation yesterday about playing God, and the thought behind, I'm sure you've heard it, what the train going down the tracks is going to kill 5 people, but if you pull a lever, it would only kill 1 person that's tied up on the other side of the railroad. So if you just let it go, 5 people were dead. Just walk away. But you could save 4 other people, well, 5 total, but 4 remaining from the 1. If you pulled the lever and decided to kill that person and save the others. And thinking about that is, for me, there's no wrong answer, just like you mentioned. But it does come into the thought process like, okay, do I want to be the person responsible for 1 person's death? Or do I want to just say, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't know. I was thinking about something else. There's a bird flying by. I didn't even think about it.
Bird pooped in my eye, and I was trying to clean my face off, and I totally didn't get to the lever in time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, oops. So,
I tripped and fell.
Yeah, I get what you're putting down there, though, in the sense of you talked about free will or just in general, like how you affect other people's lives. And that becomes tough, too, in knowing like what is right or wrong or what we strive to be in our lives and having that moral compass. And I think that's there's so many different battles that we have, and maybe not as drastic as life or death, but knowing when to insert yourself and when not to, and having, social awareness in general to actually sift through those situations.
That's where my last statement on this topic is, or of this section was, in my eyes, there is no actual one person out there who has it all figured out and is doing hey, that's the perfect alignment that everyone should be striving towards. I do think that there is an ultimate alignment out there of being able to live with love for yourself and others, and ultimately be able to live harmoniously with everything else in your life, be that nature, be that other people in society, be that existence itself, be that extra, spiritual, mind, body, spirit. I think that there's an ability to be able to get to a place where you can live completely in love, but our reality is always going to have that yin and yang, to where in this, whatever we're in right now, compared to other levels or other dimensions or anything else that you could, your mind could flutter off into and create, I think that there's potentially no possible perfect answer to what really having the ultimate awareness might be.
Yeah, I tend to agree. For me, I mentioned earlier, but awareness is something I look at as instinct, I think, and it's intentional. I think I combined most of what we put here into. I think there's bits of it all. So, you need to observe your behavior, and it takes being present to do so. And it's a matter of being conscious to reach that level. And once you are conscious, you've reached that level, the end result is offering yourself clarity on a situation to move forward. So that's the way I looked at awareness. And to be frank, I think what sucks is we can be aware of whatever situation we're in, but we are not in control. That's where I found a lot of shitty points in my life where I was trying to over control situations and realize that it's just not worth my time. And the most I can do is, align myself with goals or moral compass or whatever it might be, and instinctually know that the best result's going to come my way, I would hope, But as far as awareness goes, you can be aware of whatever you want, but you're still going to get smacked by the unknowns of life. I almost got hit by a car today. I was perfectly aware of everything and thankfully was aware of the car coming my way. And I'm like, it just takes a lot of, setting the intention of, I want to go out and achieve this goal. Okay, I'm setting myself up in, for the future, for whatever goal it might be. We want to make this podcast bigger. Great. So for that, it'll take me to set that intention, kind of understand what the end result looks like, but know that I can't just jump to the end result. It's going to take being present to get there. So for me, that awareness is again, you just mentioned, reminding yourself of whatever that goal that is that you have, or that mission statement of your life, which I think is really cool. So when you get beat off track, you can go back down the right road. Like, all right, maybe I got to steer back on, go back in the other lane or whatever it might be. And those things are fun because it teaches you something about yourself, and about awareness too. The situation where, hey, remember last time the situation came around and how you acted? Okay, this time we're going to be different, and hopefully you are, or maybe you're not. But that's the reason we're here. It wouldn't be easy if it wouldn't be fun in life if everything was easy and everything came your way.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to try not to repeat anything you guys said, but a lot of my alignment is aligning with what you guys are saying, and the rest of mine is all around your beliefs, attitudes, and the subgroups that you fit in and how you relate to them. And as you guys were talking about, you can go and kill somebody and, that might be justified. I thought about it. I was like, oh, man, nobody said awareness was a positive thing. Like, think about that Luigi guy who killed the CEO. I'm like, oh, man, like, he was aware of, probably, I'm going to speak for him, and I don't know this, but he was aware of all the criminal things that guy's doing legally.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, like, some of the people who are most aware, like, I'm picturing the bad guy in any Hallmark movie. Like, that guy's aware, but he's a douchebag. Like, in Hallmark, they basically take this guy who, like, I'm thinking of one movie particularly where he is super aware of all of his shit, but he doesn't want to change. Like, he doesn't want to do good. He's just like, oh, I'm like this marketing business tycoon, and it's all about image and all this stuff. But he's like this big douchebag. And like, meanwhile, we're sitting here, we're like, no, you need to go date the writer. He's so much nicer. But like, so as you guys were saying that about like morality and whatnot, it's like, how much does morality play into awareness? And as we are unfolding it, I'm like, man, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Like, but for me, I've thought about it as like, how we're relating to the world around us, how we're capturing it. And for me, at least, like, I'll kind of jump the gun and say, like, I'm kind of out of it. Like, the closer I get to improving myself and doing these things, sometimes I get lost in the sauce, and then I have to reel myself back in and go like, oh man, all right, here, let's go do some OCD behaviors and try to set all of these things apart so you can open up your line of vision. And often, I didn't even write that down in what we were talking about, but sometimes I'll straight up OCD the shit out of my life, so in that way I can open up my eyes.
Yeah.
But,
Man, to be able to take the time to spread that apart and open up your vision is like, that for me is ultimately awareness, is taking that time to set yourself into a path that is what you want to get out of this experience of life.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it would lead us into, do you think it's possible to live fully without being aware of it in the moment? Or does awareness have to be a part of the experience to make it real?
I'm going to jump on this one immediately. Tit knew me in high school in freshman year, where I'm kind of like mile a minute jumping the gun. I'm like, I'm walking testosterone because I just want to go do sports. I want girls, like all these things. And it's funny because the more I got like enveloped in that, and as we said, like lost in the sauce, all of a sudden I'd have like a few months later, I would just like kind of snap back into it and be like, oh man, don't forget, like you're this shy, introverted kid inside. Like who are you? Are you just this face of like smiles and whatnot? I'm like, where's the self-conscious part of you? I'm like, was it gone? I'm like, no, that's more natural than the actual part of me that's like going and flirting with all the girls that I can and trying to get their attention. And I'm like, that's not you. Like the sports, yeah, but like, you're kind of losing yourself in this like facade of trying to get people to like you. And I think, for anybody, if you're like 14 or 15, that's natural. Like that's part of the process of adolescence, is trying on different hats, figuring out who you are. But like at this age, if I'm 32 and I'm still putting on a facade, then I'm fucked up and I need to go to therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're 15, it's fun to wear a Halloween mask. If you show up trick-or-treating when you're 30, dude, you're fucked up.
Oh, man. Well, I guess I got to change my plans on October 31st.
Yeah, I think for me, like the living fully, when I think about it too much, it kind of takes me out of the pocket of awareness, if that makes sense. So like the way I think about it is like if I am at a concert and I am so excited about the concert, I'm also one of those people like I don't want to record the the video of my favorite song. I'm gonna sit there, I'm gonna take it all in, and as long as I set that intention, I usually do a good job. But then you can overdo it, I think, as well. You can turn around and you don't want to become the guy who's like look at me, like I'm in the moment over here, guys. They're like, dude, what is wrong with this guy over here? Like he's like, dude, I am so present right now. Like it's such a weird thing, but it does come off unnatural if you try to force it. And we'll talk about forcing it in a little bit too. I think that has something to say about awareness. But with that being said, you also can't even let it. I feel sometimes I feel like it's like a nature documentary. If I try to be too fully present or in the moment, like, oh, here he is in his natural habitat at 9 a.m. on the North Shore. 6 beers in. And I'm like, yeah, 6 beers in. Yeah, I love this. Like, where's the hot dogs at? Yeah. Someone got a cigar around here.
Down to
like,
lefties.
Yeah, and there he is. He has to pee for the 3rd time in the bush. Like, yeah, hell yeah, the bush, dude. I like peeing in the bush. And it's just, and then you just start thinking about shit, and you're not there, And I think what's nice is, like, for me, a lot of the times growing up, I felt like I wasn't so aware of social situations or trajectories in life or whatever, because I feel like you can't truly experience full awareness if you're in survival mode. And I felt like myself in that a lot growing up. So now allowing myself the pockets of like, even yesterday losing my phone, which is hilarious. Like, no one's gonna die, everything's fine, like you're okay. And I was pretty cool about it. Like 2 years ago, not great. Losing my phone yesterday, I was, you know what, whatever, dude. Honestly, I hope I never find it at this point. I truly do.
Bold statement.
Yeah, hey. But I think what's funny is like you do need to get out of the survival mode to recognize those moments when you're happy or you're enjoying yourself, because unfortunately, as you get older, you realize that happiness isn't a lasting state of being. Like, you're not going to be happy all the time. It typically is just a moment. Like, there's no big sign on the side of the highway that says you're happy now. That would be like, oh yeah, shit, thanks for reminding me. Like, yeah, totally forgot to be acknowledged that I'm happy. It's
actually a wonderful idea.
Yeah, you are happy now. I'm like, am I? You sure? Positive. So, but thinking about that too, I think the times where I experience it the most still is even like on the bike. Like, I'm straining myself so much physically that I can't possibly have all the shit rattling around in my head. And all I am doing is being fully aware of the situation I'm in, which is great. Like chatting with you or Pat or Evan when we were out or whatever, that was great. But also the fact that you're riding your bike around the city and you might die if you aren't fully aware of the situation you're in. So I do think it is possible to be fully aware without being, or fully in the moment without actually being aware of it. I think that's when you're doing your best work. But you do have to set the intention up front of making sure that, hey, this is it's date night with my girlfriend. I'm going to make sure I'm not on the phone. I'm going to put her away. We're going to set these times aside. Or when I'm talking with you guys, even if I talk to you all the time every week on recording for an hour once every couple of weeks, maybe not like stare at the phone. I'll have time to stare at the phone. Little things like that I think make a big difference of making sure that you are setting the attention to be present as opposed to just thinking you're going to do it naturally.
Yeah, speaking of being on the bike and stuff, I've been trying to now treat anything that I'm doing as if it was the little kid Zach version doing it. And little kid Zach did not think about, I'm not capable of being able to do this, or, oh shit, I've now ridden 50 miles and I have to climb this monster hill to get home. I got to save myself. I got to reserve myself. I got to make sure that I got to keep, I got to pace myself because I got to keep stuff left in the tank. Where little kid Zach was like,
Yep.
flying up that hill.
I don't have to, I get to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Evan and I were riding home after the bike ride, and he goes, how long is that hill that we got to climb back? Like, how long does it normally take you? And I was like, I've never paid attention, man, because normally at that point in time, I'm going like 5 to 8 miles an hour up that hill just to try to make it home at that point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here, I'm constantly thinking like, okay, how do my legs feel? Do my legs feel okay? Ooh, I just felt a little bit of tightness in my left leg. Oh, better make sure like I get my, structure and my form back in clean so that I don't, pull a muscle right now going up this hill. Versus the other night on Thursday, he asked me that, and we were coming up to the hill, and he goes, I'll follow you up the hill. I was like, oh, I was going to follow you up the hill, but all right, fine. And I'm the one pulling him up the hill and whatnot, or setting the pace is what I mean. 13, 15 miles an hour up that hill the whole way.
Damn.
And I was like, I look down and I go, oh shit, I'm like a kid right now. All right, don't look at that. Just keep acting like you're a kid racing your buddy up this hill. I'm not, it's not about a matter of thinking about what is going to happen to me if I overstrain myself right now, but just, I get to do this. And that's where, for me, awareness of, I don't feel like you can be fully in the moment, like you said, and actually be aware that you're fully in the moment.
No, you can't, because then you're just overanalyzing everything. It becomes like, I'm having so much fun right now. Like, yeah, now there is something to be said about that for sure. But I think that the times where I've experienced myself like fully living the moment, getting the most out of any situation I find myself in, is only after the fact, when I go back and go, that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like really, I'm not even going to acknowledge it right now. When I went to Florida and we got the chicken wings in Daytona, my girlfriend and I, and we knew as we're eating them, these are the greatest chicken wings we've had in so long. I mean, this is incredible. And I just didn't say anything. I'm just taking this in. I'm just going to take it. I know I can't replicate. There's no replicating this moment. I'm going to take it all in, and I'm going to sit there and think about it after I leave. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not coming back down here tomorrow. I'm just living in this 10-minute moment of just slamming chicken wings in my car in Daytona with my girlfriend. And after, I'm like, man, that was so cool. It was so great. But you come off a little disingenuous if you're eating the chicken wings. You're like, this is amazing. This is the greatest moment of my life. I peaked from here. This is it. This is over. Like, all right, dude. Like, it's good. The chicken wings are good. We get it. Like, we don't have to make that big of a deal about it.
How good are these? These are good, aren't they?
Are they good?
They're
Are
good,
we having
right?
fun right now? This is so much fun. We're
I've
having
now
fun,
gotten
right?
all this all over me because you keep slapping me saying, hey, how good are these?
Yeah, something tells me, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. You might not be having fun.
Are you trying to make this more fun than it is?
Right, yeah.
And I think that's where, for me, like, there's two different ways of living in the moment. It's living in the moment towards your ultimate highest self or best form of you or whatever you're striving towards, versus living in that moment towards your decline. And so if you're sitting there way too focused on which direction am I heading up or am I heading down? Now you've absolutely, like, all you're going to do is keep following the pace that you're following versus just allowing it to happen in whichever way the scales tip. Mm-hmm. The scales tip. And then afterwards, taking that moment to be able to go, well, those were the worst fucking chicken wings ever. Why the fudge did we go to that place?
Yeah.
All right. No. Versus that was absolutely incredible. And I think about going to, we went to that concert recently and got the free tickets. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, man, I'm going to make a quick little, I brought the 360 camera. I'm going to make a quick little video of riding down to Derry's and meeting up with him. And then, like, it's like a tribute to, like, this was such a great moment. And then I, like, didn't record anything because I was like, I'm robbing myself of the experience of riding my bike down to the city to be with one of my best friends and go to a free show that's absolutely fantastic. I'm having a great time. And then what am I going to sit here and set up the tripod and then get me dancing like an absolute goon? No, I'm not going to fucking do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's
most moments in life, like trying to capture a moment, I find funny. There's no capturing a moment in a way that's better than just experiencing it the way it naturally occurs. Like I just, there's no singing happy birthday to your mom that if you record it on a video is going to make you feel the way it did to just do it when you're presently there.
Yeah. The only thing that I feel like can be extra beneficial is when someone else that you're extremely close with sees how much you're enjoying yourself or sees that and pops back and like takes a 30-second video and just is like has that moment captured for you that can be those little things of like, or I love the different ability to just throw a camera up somewhere when you go out camping and whatnot and just not think about it at all and just be doing you and then just have those abilities to look back, because it's hard to remember with all the things that we're bombarded with on a regular basis. It's hard to remember that stuff, but it's also as quick and easy as you could just say, forget that tripod and take 1 or 2 photos and those photos be what tell those stories,
Right.
versus having to set up a camera. And which I'm a horrible and awareness is having. I'm a culprit of it. Okay, I will honestly say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Brandon.
I think we also, having said this about, taking photos and whatnot, there's one person we got to put on blast. That lady at Steelers training camp.
Oh, she was
Oh my
horrendous.
god!
I don't
she
think
was
she remembers
horrendous.
any of that.
No, she made herself the VIP guest of the day. Had 3 or 4 people yelling at her to stop taking photos of practice because they tell you not to take photos of practice.
During the plays especially.
Yep.
Well, she was actually videoing the whole time, and they kept telling her, "You're not supposed to video. You're allowed to take still photos."
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, oh.
Click.
And yeah, she
Wait
took
for them to walk
she
away.
took 30,000 photos that
Easily.
day. Easily.
It was insane.
I don't know how she had that much space on her phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to put this lady
Mm-hmm.
completely on blast, but that was a good freaking example.
Her
of
Facebook
like,
feed must be popping, dude.
She's like, this is so cool. I have so much fun in my life. Look at me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. So, okay, going, I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean, there's something to be said about that, though, is like you're just serving other people, though, at that point, too, and you're not aware of yourself, the situation. And honestly, a lot of those people don't even really care, like, that much for it. Like, the best you can do in that situation is experience it for yourself.
Well, I think that's where all of our apps and our social media is lacking in the connection, and that there needs to be something that is built to bring that back to where it's just it's the ability to stay connected to people who you can't stay connected to all the time. So that group of friends from college, that group of friends from high school, those family members who moved to the other side of the country or moved to the other side of the world, what's going on with them versus I already have such a busy schedule. I have this daily breakdown of my weeks, and now I've started to put when I'm going to wake up and when I'm going to go to bed. And I had this realization this past week when I started writing, like, the one thing I haven't done is, like, for instance, I'm trying to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm trying to go to bed by 9 or 10 p.m. this entire week, Monday through Thursday. And that's 17 hours. I spend 10 hours going to work. I spend 40 to 55 minutes driving there and back. So that's 2 hours, arguably. And I spend 8 hours at work. So that's 10 hours of my day spent at work. And so that means I got 7 hours of my own time to do what I want to do, work out, feed myself, all these different things. And you go, fudge, that sucks.
Yeah, the ratio is so off, man. You got a third of your day to work with, and then you got I don't know what fractions are with 5. 2/7. What does 2/7 break down to? I don't know. Yeah, but that's what you get. Like 1 in 3.5 or what? I don't fucking know, dude. I didn't. That's why I'm not a math guy. But the ratios are so off because it's 8 hours a day, which is actually not bad. You get a third of your day sleep, third of your day work, third of your day to yourself. Makes sense. But then even the week ratio is so tough because it's 5 days at work, 2 days at home, doing whatever you want. And 1 day is probably maintenance, as you mentioned. Usually, like, most people will serve their Sunday as maintenance and getting ready for the week or whatever. So what do you get, Saturday? It's tough, man. It's really tough for people. And I think, as far as and this might actually parlay into the next question of what subtle signs, whether it's physical, emotional, relational, do you recognize as signs when you're either in or out of alignment? And thinking about days like that, it's tough because burnout's a real mother trucker, dude, like for real. And when you're not able to be aware of the signs that you may or may not be fully aligned with yourself, and you think it's just, oh man, you're just being a little weak bitch right now, get back after it, you probably might need to take some time to actually look a little deeper and actually show some self-love, as you mentioned in that case. And that is easier said than done because we're all addicted to the grind, man. I'm grinding out here. You know, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just out here grinding. And when you're grinding. Yeah, grinding. Shout out, man. Shout out, was that Clips? Probably.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, you know, as far as that goes, like when you're in alignment, I feel like that's like what you mentioned, like the flow state. You can see things in a deeper way. You understand them. You're not thinking too much about outside forces affecting what you're doing. You're not worried about what you did in the past. You're really not worried about where the future is. You're just there. And that's nice because I feel like for me, I'm pretty observant. I can find those spaces to do it when I fully intend on doing it. And I think it takes a lot of, you know, walking the walk and not just talking about it, like actually going out and having like, hey, I'm going to go and do my thing. I'm carefree. I'm just going to let the universe come my way. That's what it feels like for me when I'm in alignment. But the out of alignment, getting into like the workday and things like that, of how that affects you, is trying to balance that maintenance with me as a human being, but also still striving to grow myself in a certain manner. And God, it's so tough. Like distractions in general, when I'm out of alignment, it's always the distractions. Like how many screens can I put in front of me at one time? Here's my phone. Here's my Xbox. Here's the TV with the football game on. Actually, there's a second football game on. So what if I just could watch both while I look up here? And then if I had a podcast on while I was playing Xbox at the same time, I think we're good. Dude, I'm just numbing the shit out of myself. Yeah. Yeah. You are just completely removing yourself from reality. So that is, I think, dumbing down the awareness that a lot of us have. And I think that's when you have to take not a rain check, but actually take like an inventory check, I would say, of, all right, dude, you're obviously avoiding something about yourself. Or, you know, it could be healthy. Sometimes you really just like, hey, dude, rough day. I'm just turning the hell off. That's okay. But when you're out of alignment is when I see, for me, it just is consistent. It's a lot of not having patience for certain situations. I can't put the face on too well. We were talking about Halloween masks. Like, unfortunately, you do have to put faces on. Like you do, you know, going to work, being up to talk to people. A lot of, like, for me, even just face-to-face interactions, a big part of my job. Like, have to, like, I'll reset myself before I walk through the door. Like, okay, dude, just like an hour. Just go like, hey, you guys, what's up, guys? Okay, cool. So whatever. So, you know, I think the other thing that stands out for the not so much in alignment would be what I mentioned earlier, was the forcing things. Like when you're forcing things to happen, it's not going to work out for you at all. I'm sorry. I've been there. I've done that. And trying to force things that just aren't meant for you, usually find a way of not working out anyway. And now you wasted time and you're worse off for it. And you're probably 2 steps behind than, you know, you could have been 1 step ahead if you had just been aware of that situation you were in. So I think for me, you know, trying to just like start watching me, watch me, maybe. You feeling that?
Yeah, watch yourself.
Yeah, I'm just like, but I'm watching myself because I'm just gonna go out there and like, there's I might ask Brandon about this too, when it goes into like the negative side of it and how far compulsion comes into it. Because a lot of the things we do on the negative end, you just do out of like not necessity, but like comfort almost. And that's, I feel like, when you're not aligned with yourself and your awareness, compulsion is a big thing that comes in of just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat bad, or I'm just gonna sit here and binge watch the show, or I'm just gonna play Xbox, and like you don't even think about it, because if you think about it, you know you're wrong. You become aware of like your faults. But on the other side, the compulsion's like, it is what it is, and what it is it's an action without thought. I think maybe you went to school.
There's a lot of things happening there, and I'm like, well, one thing you could look at is, you know, addictions and like food, impulses, those things. You're looking for a dopamine hit, and like we talk about a lot, there's escaping. There's also with awareness. I was thinking as we were talking, You could be on two completely different sides of the flow state. You could be going into flow to escape, and you are completely into flow, but you're not into awareness. Or, like, say, video games. Or you could be going into a flow state to get into awareness, such as bike riding. So, like, ironically, it's funny that you guys have done both at the same time. But, like, I think in that instance of the compulsions and whatnot and feeding, man, we had a really good metaphor a couple episodes back, but I'll just call it feeding the rat. You're feeding the rat, and the rat's not good for you. You know, he's just getting bigger and bigger, and he's getting stronger, and it's like the Princess Bride, where that rat is human size now.
Oh, God.
And you're like, fuck, now I got to fight the rat. But, like, you have all these bad habits that are stacked up, and now you're like, okay, rat, like, just calm down. We're all friends here. Like,
Chill
like
out,
Just
Master
snarling at
Splinter.
you.
yeah. He's like, I want a Snickers. And it's like, okay, here's a Snickers. Here. He's like, I'm going to try to work on myself. Another. Okay. Like, but, like, so I don't know. I think that makes sense with addictions and neurotransmitters. And, you know, once we get ourselves down regulated enough and we get those habits built, and we forget all of these things, they're built out of evolution. Like, habits, even bad ones, they're there to try to help us and help bring us up. Like sugar cravings, those are just bodily responses saying, hey, I have needs. And like we talked about that self-love, it just really depends. Are you perpetuating and feeding the rat, or are you giving yourself self-love with your habits?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, being in alignment looks like a journaling page that says, I love you, you're doing a great job, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Or looking in the mirror saying, I love you, you're doing a good job, keep going, versus either looking in the mirror or writing on a piece of paper going, well, you could have did this, you could be doing that, you could be doing, well, why aren't you making the effort to go do this? Oh, you need to focus on this, versus you're doing a great job, man. Keep stacking those chips and keep thinking about yourself in, for you, your own perception, a positive light, versus this, well, you could have did this today and you could have did that. And, well, what if you would have just focused a little bit harder? I did 15, 20 things today. How many more things did I need to focus and do harder?
Yeah.
You know, I went so hard riding my bike today that I'm now laying in a bed crippled because all my muscles are going do. You're looking at your leg and your calf muscles just spasming like this, and you're like, I went too hard, you know? And so that for me was the subtle signs were, I mean, a physical one was you went too hard on your bike and now your calf muscles going like this. But more so like the emotional response to feeling like you're doing a great job versus feeling like you're doing a shit job. Yeah. And if you can look in yourself and go, I love you versus I hate you today, or I really don't like who you're being today. And what is that going to do for you other than perpetuate me going down a deeper rabbit hole of, well, I already hate myself today, so I'm just going to go eat that entire cheesesteak, you know, or I meant to say entire cheese pizza, but I'm just going to crush it. Oh, no, I shouldn't have just one slice of this pie. I'm going to cut her one slice of the pie, and I'm going to eat the rest from the dish. You know? So have you ever believed you were self-aware only to look back and realize you were blind to something very important? I have thought that I cracked the code so many times over the past 5 years, man. And only to be like, dog, who the hell do you think you are? Like for me right now, like I'm 33. At 28 is when in my personal opinion, this is going to be when I have said that I've flipped my life back over, 27 turning 28. And so 5 years now, I have felt like I've cracked the code so many times of like, oh, well, this video is going to be the one that I break out on, and this is what's going to change, or this idea of riding my bike while playing video games, this is what's going to make me all my capital to be able to then quit my 9-to-5 and go after my entrepreneurial, striving goals and whatnot. Or I'm not someone who gambles all the time, but you know what? I'm going to play the lottery today because I saw some 888 angel numbers all day, and that's just telling me that I'm supposed to win the lottery today, and that's going to be the capital that gets me started. Versus now, listening to different books and reading different books and studying entrepreneurs before me of like, okay, so there's like 4 different ways that people are thinkers and ideas people. All right, I got all 4 of those a little piece of me. But when it comes down to the 5 pillars of what it takes to be a business, I don't know shit about legalities or law. So I'm going to get steamrolled if I just try to go out here and not have any background on, oh, well, this is the correct way to write a contract when I don't have, like, it's all about finding people that are going to help you build out that version of yourself. And that's where it's so important to take the awareness, to me, of finding those people in your life who are going to help springboard you into the person that you ultimately want to be. But you also have to have a little bit of knowledge and awareness for each of those, because at the end of the day, if you don't take any time to put any appreciation into those things, then you're never going to appreciate what those people might be bringing to the table for you. Mm-hmm. And so if I don't go and learn a little bit about law and a little bit about contract law and different things like that, then I'm never going to be able to take the appreciation or even have any respect or gratitude that, like, hey, maybe this person took like the last 40 hours over the last week of just writing this one contract, because, man, I think it would take me 3 weeks to write this, you know, or come up with all these ideas. So if I don't have that time of looking back and going, dog, you didn't break shit, there's still so much code for you to be able to dive through, then I'm that guy who's looking in the mirror going, man, I hate you, man. You suck, man. Versus, I love you for even taking the time and the effort to put anything towards that. And then I love you even more for the gratitude that you have for the people that you have in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool that you recognize the support system too, because I thought about that as well. There's a lot of times in life where you can act like you know best, but you realize that if you had just leaned into the people who have been there and done that, you probably learned something, whether that's your parents or if you're an older sibling and you're trying to help a younger sibling or whatever it might be. You can sit there and realize, hey, yeah, maybe I think I know how to cook a steak perfectly, but I tried and I burnt the shit out of it. And now I'm going to buy food from takeout again because I thought I knew it all. What do I got? Put a steak on a pan? Okay, cool. Sounds good. There's a reason why people make a living off of cooking steaks, you know, and it could be the same for anything. So I think it's cool that you acknowledge that you don't always know best and having that awareness on its own. I thought about with this too, recent job promotion was cool, but even after I talked to you about it, even after I crushed the interview, after all this stuff, the day I got promoted, my buddy who got promoted with me went down first, and I could see it coming for him. And I know I did everything right. I knew the job was for me. I knew the timing was right. But for some reason, in the back of my head, I was like, oh, I've seen this before. I've been here before. This is where I get fucked. This is where one person gets a situation. I'll be happy for him. He earned it. But I thought I did too. And I'm going to lose out on this situation. And 10 minutes later, I got called down and got promoted as well. So with that being said, I think awareness can be tricky when you're combining past trauma into that awareness, because I can mistake that all the time. If I come home right now after the podcast and my girlfriend's quiet and she's not saying much, I could go, oh, fuck, dude, I screwed up. What did I do? This isn't good. Or I could release myself from the past traumas of relationships that actually entailed that and acknowledge that I now have the awareness to find myself in a positive relationship, and maybe she's just tired. Like she's just showing a human element that is completely natural and has nothing to do with me. Like, why is it always going to be about me all the time? And I think having that awareness of not allowing that past trauma to affect the way you perceive things is huge for me, because that's very easy to do so. And I think you mentioned too, keeping yourself humble by doing things that make you uncomfortable. I think that's a great way to even build awareness of, hey, it's harder than it looks. It's not an easy road. Things aren't easy in life to acknowledge or grasp, or even a goal you want to go after. It's not hard to obtain if you put in the right efforts. But to put in the right efforts, you need to see what path was lied before you went on it, and actually go out and learn and know it's going to take time and hard work, as opposed to, I know fucking everything. This is all it takes is this, and this, and I'm going to get there. Like it's not probably, it is beneficial to you to be humbled, be knocked back down a few pegs in the goal that you will become more aware and understand what it takes to get where you're going.
Wouldn't that be where we allow shame to be that positive builder? If we're humbling ourselves, and I can sit here and go, wow, man, I am so shameful that I'm not this and I'm not that, versus, okay, I'm going to acknowledge that I don't have those things. I'm going to allow this shame to humble me. And, now it's time to reassess and
because
build back.
Shame's a feeling, but self-talk is an action, I would think, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you can feel shame, and that can be healthy if you spin it that way. But if you feel shame and you go, you're just a piece of shit and you'll never amount to what you want to be, now we have issues.
Yeah.
And I think that's another part where I've seen, you look back and I've had trouble with that, of being aware of a situation where maybe I just wasn't cut out for it quite yet. Maybe I still had more to learn. And that's perfectly fine. But what isn't fine is convincing myself that that's the way it's always going to be.
This is never going to be any different.
Yeah.
Allowing those past traumas to have more control versus you now being able to go, well, maybe this isn't going to be like last time.
Right. Absolutely. And mathematically, the way the universe works, eventually it won't be. It won't be like last time.
I think one of the things from what you said, it sounds like a good opportunity for a plug for other people listening is, gratitude. You said something in our last episode that is going to be really valuable for self-awareness is you talked about all the accolades that you had on your resume. You have like 14 different things. And then you're like, if I just scratch my name off and just look at it, I'm like, yo, that's a fucking dope resume.
Yeah.
But as soon as you put your name on it, you're like, fuck that guy. Right? So I think like even where I find myself with like, do I think that I could become like 100% self-aware? For me, I don't think it is. I think it's a continuous pursuit. I think for me, for number one, need to be a lot more grateful for, one, the people I have in my life, two, the challenges I put myself through. I need to pull my head out of my ass a lot more. I don't know how I can stretch that far, but,
You got down there.
Yeah, somehow. It's all that yoga, man. But I feel like for me, it's always a continuous pursuit. And the closest I could ever get to like awareness is like through writing. Like, this is one thing that we do that helps us and brings us together to understand deeper parts of ourselves and then share that and put it out in the universe. But I think like for me, the closest I can get is like when I write, I kind of help organize all of those things, all these beliefs, attitudes. It doesn't matter if it's like real or fiction. Like if it's real, then you're getting to the things that you really know. If it's fiction, then you're getting to parts and elements of yourself that you have buried. And you might have some direction you're headed. But for me, I think like 100% self-awareness for me is not possible. I just need to keep going and keep trying. And in the process, I'll experience so much joy and so much stuff. And the things that pull me back to it is when I notice I'm off path is that shame. And usually if it's not shame, it'll go to sadness or frustration and anger. And then eventually I'll be like, okay, you can't breathe because your head's in your ass. Get it out. And then boom, start to immediately work on the process again. And then that'll help me towards my next steps. And, those, they're not often clear, but sometimes that loop can help you get there. Like it's weird how that works. You're just like, all right, it's another fucking day. Let's go brush the teeth, go shower, put some music on. And then on that drive to work, like sometimes I'll turn the music off or I'll put on jazz and I'll be like, okay, what do you want? Yeah. A little bit of sax. Like, I'm not gonna do a sax impression. But yeah, it's a little bit of saxophone, a little bit of bass, a little bit of drums, and maybe a soft voice. It helps pull me back to say, like, what do you want today? That's all I really need is, what do you want today?
Yeah.
Yeah, that leads us into our last question here, which was, awareness is a practice. So I fully agree with you that it's not a destination that we're going to ultimately get to, because if I've ultimately gotten to awareness, then like, what else is there for me to do? I don't know. Nothing. Maybe getting to that ultimate self-awareness puts you into a place of being able to share the opportunities to pass that on to others. But what is that? Now we're talking about playing God kind of mentality. We're this magical figure that has all the answers. I got everything, and that's not me like shooting shots at any, religion out there, because I think that religions can be fantastic for you. But I do think that the statement for like my last statement here was like, when I finally get to journaling and take that time, whether it's to start the day or whether it's to end the day, which I try to do both. I try to journal in the morning with some, manifestation type of stuff, and write down some things of like, what am I feeling today? What am I feeling to start this day out? These are the things that, this was in my dream or this was not or whatever. But when I get to that final end of the day and I actually journal before I go to sleep, and I turn on the gratitude versus the personal assessment of, well, you didn't do this versus you didn't do that. Completely different way of going to sleep and waking up the next morning versus not journaling and just feeling like I didn't. Okay, you had a bunch of things on your list that you would have loved to do today. Oh, but well, you didn't expect when you were dumping the recycling into the recycling can that one of the glass Coke bottles was going to fall out and break all over the ground. Now you got to go get the shop vac. Now you got to clean this up because you don't want glass to just be on the side of your house. Well, that was, 20, 30 minutes that I wasn't expecting. Okay, that's a little exaggeration of how long that might take. But, that was, well, who knows where the shop vac is? The shop vac dug deep in the back in the garage. Oh, now I got to move stuff out of the way. Oh, well, now that I took the shop vac out and I clean up, now I got to put the shop vac back. Well, I want to work out tomorrow, so now I got to put all the stuff back in the way to be able to make sure that the stuff for working out. So if I just allow my checklist of the day of the things that I wanted to accomplish and some of them not get done, whether I have these massive aspirations on Monday of I'm going to bang out episode 43 clips and I'm going to bang out episode 44 clips. And you're like, dog, it takes 2 hours to do an episode's full clips, get them captioned, get all this stuff done. You give yourself 3 hours to work on this shit. You think you're just going to magically, ramp 4 hours down to 3 hours today? No, but you might get a little bit of that second episode done. You didn't get it all done, which is what you put on your list. So are you going to shame yourself at the end of the day? Or are you going to take the gratitude of going, man, I'm really glad that I was able to even get done what I was able to get done today. And I was given that opportunity versus, potentially even thinking like, well, what are all the crazy things that could have popped up today? Could I have gotten into a car accident on the way home? And then now that's a completely different thing that I got to deal with. Oh, is it just a car accident to the level of we exchange, information? Or is this a car accident that takes me to the hospital that evening? And now I didn't even get to do shit on my list. So having that gratitude of, well, everything went smoothly today. I got to check off a little bit of what I wanted to do. That writing things down and taking that personal assessment has been what has been beneficial for me of continuing awareness as a practice versus thinking that at some point in time I'm going to be Mr. Perfect. Like what the fuck?
Damn. Yeah, man. First of all, that was fantastic. Second of all, man, yeah, gratitude. I feel like that's like the number one the number one. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about the have tos and the want tos. And my brain still hasn't wrapped its head around it because this is not what I wrote down at all. But I'm like, man, a really good way to think about it in awareness is trying to get your have tos and your want tos on the same page. And we're all at the age right now, and I'm right now like pre-kid. So like my have tos and want tos, they can be aligned if I wanted them to. But like, you know, that part of me having my head up my ass is not wanting to do the have tos, or like just not revisiting the want tos. And I'm like, you have so much freedom you don't even know. Wait till you're 6 months down the road and you look back, you're like, oh, I'm so tired. I just wish I was 6 months ago. Like that was fantastic. But like the awareness, I think, is trying to get that alignment of your want tos and your have tos. You should embrace them both equally.
I love that,
Yeah,
dude.
you want your want tos to be your have tos, not your have tos to be your want tos. Does that sound right? I don't know.
We could change it for must.
I don't
Your
know.
must and your
Yeah,
preferences.
yeah. Because if you like, I just think about this. Like, if I want to like my have tos are my want tos, then I'm aligned with myself. Like, these are like cool. Like I have to do the podcast. Hell yeah. Like, I have to do it because we set goals for ourselves. Cool. If your want tos or have tos, then it's like, oh, cool. Like, I'm addicted to the wrong shit. That's where it hits me. Is like, oh, well, I have to drink 3 Red Bulls to get through today. You're like, ah, shit. That's probably not great. No offense to either of us who are addicted to caffeine.
Yeah.
Regardless. But moving on from that too, I think a couple that I thought of were exactly what you mentioned was the checklist of life. But I actually wrote just stepping out of it completely. And you know, mentally, I was thinking about it, like taking some checklists like too far in the road of, okay, if I have always just woken up every day and it's a list of shit to do, and that's the only way I experience life, then that's going to get old pretty quickly. So allowing myself to step out of that, allowing myself to just slow down in general, it's incredibly hard for me. So I know it's necessary, like for how hard it is for me to just slow down and rest or recover mentally or even meditate. For how hard it is for me to do that, I acknowledge that that is probably something I really should be embracing a lot more because of how hard it is. And you know, as that being said, I think that's where, and we've talked about this too, it comes into play of just reminding yourself to cause your own discomfort. If you don't cause your own discomfort in your life by trying to grow and better yourself, then the universe is going to cause you discomfort, and it'll probably come back tenfold. And you'll wish that you just took control of your own discomfort as opposed to letting the universe smack you upside the head with 10 times the strength that you could ever affect your own life with. So with that being
Hammer of life.
the hammer of life, dude. Oh my God. So, you know, that being said, I think just for little, yeah, I know. That's
The hammer of life.
I didn't want to say anything, man. I was just, my mind went a couple places when you said the hammer of life, but we won't get into those. So I think if there's one thing that I could look at as far as awareness goes, it leans into that slowing down, acknowledging the gratitude I have for the things in my life, and taking like mental pictures more than your cell phone or whatever it might be, acknowledging that we have these opportunities to just let ourselves experience life. You get one chance to experience it. You can spend all month waiting to go to the concert or the party or whatever, and then it's going to be done in 2 hours, and you probably spent 40 hours thinking about it and 2 hours actually experiencing it. And then you look back and say, what the hell was I doing those other 3 weeks leading up to this at all? I was just thinking about the 2 hours I get to spend with my friends or doing something fun. So you're going to miss out on a lot of that. So whether it's the looking forward to or the checklist in life, I think as much as you can relieve yourself from those, acknowledge that those are parts of life and they will come, and just finding yourself in the present moment, taking things as they come, knowing that you're built for that shit, and also understanding that you have the ability to step away at any point too, and giving yourself that time to recharge and reload, because if you don't have the awareness that you aren't the strongest human being ever made, then you're going to burn yourself out and you'll never get where you want to go.
Yeah, I to basically step on that concept that we were just throwing out there. I look at it as your desires versus your habits.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
kind of where I was. Yeah.
I have all these desires to not have that checklist anymore and that checklist be my habits. And I have all the desire for my life to have more freedom versus more the security that I have right now. And so I'm desiring this life that is way more free versus this life that I have. Okay, well, I know that if I have this checklist and these are the things that I got to do today, then I'm on my way towards my desires. And those desires becoming, well, I don't have to have this checklist because my time is my time. And I've now taken back, well, I get to do these things today versus I have to go to work today to make this money to be able to pay these bills and do the rat race that we like to talk about sometimes.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the desires versus the habits and making those, have tos, which I look at as your habits. Like those are the things that you're going to have to do as a father coming forward. You're going to have to,
Wipe
bing,
an
bing,
ass.
bing, bing. Yeah. Wipe an ass and removing your head out of the wrong snorkel.
Can't wipe your kid's ass if your head's up your own,
Exactly.
So that's my final tidbit was the habits and desires.
I think also like there's a huge value in, like we've mentioned a few times, the journaling. It's like, oh my gosh, what a gift. What a gift we have to be able to journal and like just get ourselves out of that like negative flow state. Like you're just pushing forward, pushing forward, pushing forward. You're not looking at anything's around you. And it's like that driving for an hour, but 15 minutes, you have no idea what happened in those 15 minutes. You just got in your thoughts, and then all of a sudden, that time just vanished. And you're like, where was I? What was I doing? And it's like, journaling really helps you pull yourself out of that because there's not only the gift of giving all of those thoughts their time and space on paper, but then like 15 days goes by, and you could read those last 15, and you could say, yeah, you know what? That happened, that happened, that happened. And, oh, wait a second. Hold on. What's that? There's a pattern. I don't want to do that anymore. You know what? I'm going to try to bust that up like a kidney stone. I'm just going to try to bust it up, and then I'm going to try to not let that happen again.
I think the journaling ultimately, it's awesome to be able to have a group of friends that you can confide in and talk about talk about anything with. But if you can't talk about it with yourself and put it on paper, or even just have those discussions with yourself driving in the car or sitting around in your own time, you're not going to be able to share that stuff openly and vulnerably with friends who could ultimately give you a different perspective of way of looking at it. But if you're not willing to have those conversations with yourself and release that type of stuff, then you're not going to feel comfortable sharing it with somebody else because it's already uncomfortable for you. Then sharing that with someone is going to, from my experience, be even more uncomfortable.
Yeah, in a world where perspective is king, for me at least, you have to be vulnerable enough to not only have this conversation with yourself, but allow the feedback of other people that you trust, your inner circle, to help guide you. Because you could sit there and stew on something that's eating you away for weeks or months or years, and then finally get strong enough or brave enough to have a conversation with someone you love and realize, holy shit, I should have did this 2 years ago. What the fuck was I worried about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And think about that too. Like, I love the journaling. I think it's funny that we journal and then we share our journals with each other. You would get your ass beat for reading someone's journal back in like, we all journal and then we just sit here and spew it out for the public, which is counterproductive maybe, but I don't know. I kind of like it. I think it's kind of our vibe, but I was thinking about like meditation too, was something where I have seen a lot of benefit in when I'm able to do it, because it is teaching you to allow, like you mentioned earlier, those thoughts that just keep running and running and running, and it'll teach you to just let it pass. So instead of, throwing it, the way I look at it is, instead of taking a thought and looking at it, I'm like, okay, cool, you're a piece of shit. I'm going to put this in the closet, and it's just going to sit in the closet, and it's not going anywhere. You're taking it and like, okay, I'm just going to release it. It's off in the wild. It's a bird. It flew away. I threw it in the trash. It's in a portal somewhere in a different universe, and just letting it go. And I think for me, that's helped with awareness so much of, you're going to always think positively, negatively, left, right, down, doesn't matter. But allowing yourself to not let the thoughts control you, understanding that every person probably has negative thoughts, they have positive thoughts, but just not letting them eat you away, and knowing that if you were to just sit with it, feel it, and release it, you're probably better off for it.
I love that idea of it being a closet, because
Yeah.
like you go to your closet every day to put like an outfit on.
Yeah.
We're not a bunch of Neanderthals or running around naked every single day,
Yeah.
which might be interesting if
Could be.
if it was that way.
Could
But
be.
thinking about like, what do you actually purposely choose to be in your closet for you to put on day in and day out of your clothes?
Yeah.
Is those thoughts of which ones am I going to allow to stick with me because they are the ones that are ultimately what I want to show to the world, versus the ones that like, I haven't worn this t-shirt in 5 years because it makes me look a little chunky. It's a little too tight, but I love that t-shirt. I love feeling like that, you
Yeah.
know, or whatever those thoughts or feelings might be. So you gentlemen have anything to ride out on?
Nah, I'm
I
good.
think that sums it up for me.
I think we absolutely crushed it.
Oh,
So as always, the squad says, don't trust us, trust yourself, because you got all the answers. We're just helping you unlock them for yourself. This once again was another authentic vulnerability deep dive into the psyche of these three guys. We got Brandon, we got Derry, and we got myself, Zach. And this was episode 50, Awareness. How do I notice the little things? Thanks for tuning in with us, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Later.
Thanks again for tuning into episode 50, Awareness. How do I notice the little things? Don't hesitate to catch the gang's next release, episode 51, Accountability. How do I hold myself to the standard in my head? Well, the gang decides to tackle that fancy word called accountability, and how accountable are they to themselves, more so to others? Well, let's give you 3 sneak peeks of the 6 questions of the episode outline for that one. One of those questions: do you feel more motivated by internal accountability or external accountability? And how do those forces show up in your life? Another question: have you ever crossed the line between being accountable and being a people pleaser? How do you know when your yes is genuine and not guilt driven? And one last sneak peek from that episode outline of those 6 questions: what makes someone a great accountability partner, and how do you choose the right people to hold you to your dreams? We'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care.